everyone. I'm here with Nathan, one of the meteorologists here, Grant Smith. We've got some snowy weather on the way.
Oh, yeah, definitely a good setup for some snow.
Yeah, but there is a lot of uncertainty with this. We wanted to just bring you some clarification. We got this watch out. So let's just kind of explain what's going on. So the key points for sure that we want to get across. Nathan, this is something you've been working on, seeing the development of this low in the Gulf, bringing some snow. So what are the highlights that we were talking about this morning?
So the highlights we're looking at is the potential for long duration snow across the Icy Strait corridor. So that's including Pelican, Hoonah, Gustavus, and Juneau. Now, the big question here is how much moisture is going to be available. We've got good confidence it's going to stay as snow the entire time, maybe a brief chance to transition over to rain Tuesday afternoon, but looking at a majority of snow. But yes, it's really a question of how much moisture is going to be available for this storm.
Yeah, and you say long duration, that we do have some thresholds that we'll issue advisories and warnings for. And I've been part of situations where we were expecting less than advisory amounts for over a 12-hour period, 8-hour period, wherever the threshold was, but it was over like 5 days. So yeah, we're expecting, during this event, we were expecting less than advisory amounts, but it lasted 5 days. So we went from having no snow to 3 feet on the ground. And yeah, in incremental chunks, it was fine. But at the end of the time, we were, at least I was struggling knowing where to put the snow.
Right.
So this is just something we want to get ahead of, as it could be a long duration event. So give us through the setup. What are we looking at in terms of the weather pattern?
So this is a very, very classic setup for heavier snow in the Juneau area. You've got the low in the northern Gulf kind of riding along the coast. You got good amount of moisture coming in from the west and the south. And also you have that colder air being pulled in from the Yukon. That's going to kind of create a perfect storm for good snow development in Juneau. It's just how much of that moisture is actually going to be developed into snow and able to drop through. Currently, it's very dry out there, and so it's going to need to push through all of that dry air in order to actually reach the surface and start to accumulate.
Okay, and then so that low in the Gulf, is there a lot of forcing to move the low out of the way after 24 hours, or you're thinking it's going to be a long duration event because the low is just going to sit there?
Well, actually, that's the big question. So it's really a big question of how strong the trough aloft is going to be, and that's going to direct where that low is going to go. Currently, right now, it looks like it's going to be a little bit weaker, a little bit more stationary, which is going to keep it around the Juneau area. But later on, they're showing indications of it kind of redeveloping, getting a little bit more strength and pushing southward a little bit. And that's where south of Juneau, you may see a little bit of snow later on in the week.
Okay, that's going to be farther south, like Ketchikan, Prince of Wales Island, Petersburg, that far south. That's going to be if the low exits.
Yep, it certainly does have that possibility.
Yeah, we got a lot of ifs on this forecast, which is super fun. So you made this map, preliminary snowfall amounts through Tuesday evening. This is now, as of this recording, Saturday afternoon through. This is the entire amount of snow, and you're putting. Models are giving the Juneau area 6 to 8 inches there on the map. Hoonah, Gustavus, in that kind of 3 to 6. Is that kind of a good estimate?
At this time now, it's just a rough estimate on what we're looking at going forward. Obviously, these things are going to change. Changes in colder air might drive up snow ratios. So basically, how much moisture equals how much snow. And that's going to change throughout the storm. This is just a rough estimate to get you an idea on what kind of snow we're looking at.
Yeah, and if it's a higher snow ratio, then it's going to be the more fluffier type. A lower snow ratio, you're going to be moving concrete. So that's also another variable we get to keep watch of. So the snow amount range, I looked at this, and it's giving a lot of uncertainty of, the purple is 6+ in the range of possibilities. So this is what you wanted to highlight, and why we're doing this is because there's a lot of uncertainty, right?
Yep, and this is where the moisture really comes into play. Because if the moisture doesn't reach that far in, you're not going to get those higher snow totals. The snow might stay very, very fluffy, might accumulate super quickly, but you just won't have the moisture available to really get those higher snow totals.
Yeah, and then you have their subtle changes in moisture, even though like the upper level winds could shift the heavier snow to the other parts of Icy Strait, Gustavus, Hoonah, Pelican. So those areas are, under watch here.
Right. And that's kind of why we wanted to include them. It's also the state of the lower level of the atmosphere, how long that sticks around as relatively stable for good snow accumulation.
Now, farther up Lynn Canal, Haines, and Skagway, are you concerned about the heavier snow for there, or is it going to be one of those situations where the moisture doesn't make it that far up Lynn Canal?
So at this point, we're not looking at moisture getting too far up Lynn Canal. Does look like the outflow winds, those northerly winds currently coming out of Haines and Skagway, is going to keep a lot of those higher snow totals away. A lot of that moisture is going to be directed more towards the Icy Strait area.
Okay. And this is at the start of the week, the Monday, Tuesday time frame. Now, for the second half of the week, that's where we have the highest uncertainty because it's whether or not the low sticks around or moves on. What would be the weather pattern for the snowiest case versus the least snowiest case?
So the most snowiest case would be that low pressure kind of sitting towards the northeast coast. Near Cape Fairweather is where you'll get that constant southerly flow into the Juneau and Icy Strait area. The least snowy case would be if that low begins to drift south, loses a lot of steam, and a lot of those northerly winds kind of drive out a lot of the moisture in the area. That's where you'll get the sunshine. That's where you'll get the cold temperatures yet again.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing here in this map where the temperatures, those lines, which are representing temperatures, they go back down colder. So in this scenario that we're seeing here, the temperature trend would be colder for the second half of the week because the low moved on and outflow wind kicked back in. Okay, but still could go either way. Now for the second half of the week on Wednesday snowfall, what are you seeing there? Because that's when the uncertainty really begins to pick up.
Yeah, so the uncertainty is really picking up, like you said. Not looking at as much moisture, but as you can see from the two graphs here, not a lot of snow versus a little bit of snow. And the snow levels, you can see either between 0, which would be at sea level, and over 1,000 feet, which most likely means some sort of rain or warmer temperatures or something along those lines. So a lot of different solutions could fall out of this, and at this point, we could go either way.
Okay, so that's the second half of the week. We're going to be paying close attention to how this plays out, where Monday and Tuesday will really tell us what the rest of the week's going to be like. We can kind of build on that. So in summary, summarize all this up for us.
So we are looking at possibly long duration snowfall for Icy Strait. We're still looking at how much snowfall we might get out of this, how much available moisture there's going to be. And ultimately, a lot of these variables will become increasingly clearer with time. So feel free to check back. Most of the precipitation along Icy Strait is going to be staying as snow, and then it's really a big question on how long that's going to stick around, or whether those stronger northerly winds are going to kick back in. We'll get clear skies. I'm not going to say all is well, but but certainly in terms of higher snowfall amounts, it will be less.
Okay. All right, so stay plugged into the forecast, throughout the rest of the week and into the second half of next week. Weather.gov/Juneau is where you can get the latest. Thanks for watching, and hey, thanks for filling us in about all this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.